Hi guys, just checking if you can hear me okay. This is going to be the audio for the video because I'm currently at work and I was just like, you know what, let me just do this video. Hi guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ogu, and on this channel we have very light field conversations. I share my stories, I bring other people to share their stories. And today I'm going to be sharing my stories. A lot of times, a lot of people say that degrees are overrated and experiences are undervalued. Or did I get that right? Degrees are overrated. Experiences are undervalued. Yes. Now, if you are a student or you're in a sector where degrees are like very valued, a lot of times the barrier to entry, like when you're about to get a job, they'll be like, oh, you have to have experience. But like, how would I have experience if no one ever gave me the opportunity? If that's you, welcome to welcome. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And also, a lot of people, or a lot of times in some countries, a lot of times experiences are the overrated thing. So a lot of times, a lot of people prefer you to have experience rather than a degree. It's more so, what do you bring to the table, right? And you know, I thought about this thing and the fact that, to be honest, like I've honestly not used any of my degrees. So I have a BSc in economics, I have a master's in management, supply chain logistics, I also have a diploma in non-profit leadership and management. Now these degrees were gotten in 3 different places, so of which the most recent one was a scholarship by Ford Foundation. I was really excited about that one. In fact, that was my most intentional degree. The first 2 degrees were more situational. So I would say situational because, like, for me, when I picked economics, I was filling my JAM form and they say, what do you want to study? I said, okay, put economics. And I would say economics because I had been through hell and back with my economics teacher and I got an A in my IGCSE. So I was like, since I got an A in this course, why not just like deep dive into it? So I love a interesting range of courses. I loved physics, I loved economics, I hated chemistry, so I knew that I'm not going to do any science course because chemistry would catch up with me in the future. So yeah, I think I would say situational because that's how I chose to study economics. As for management, supply chain logistics, it was also situational because I actually wanted to do something different, but I was already in that sector. I don't know, people in that sector, so it was more like, okay, just go and do this and then come back, because I actually wanted to come back home. So that's why I did supply chain logistics. And when I was now coming back after the supply chain logistics degree, I had a sit down conversation with God and I was like, God, what do you want me to do? What's my purpose in life? All of those things. And then I knew in the list of things that God told me to do, a fellowship program was one of them, and getting a degree and certification in that was one of them. So I saw the non-profit leadership and management course by LBS. I applied for it. I applied for a scholarship and I got it. So we thank God. And I also got a fellowship as well. So I think that was just divine leading. That degree was like super intentional, and every other thing I've gotten down from there as well. So I also got into a 3-month accelerator program by Textile Sustainability, which actually gave me a lot of opportunities. I'm grateful to that from my past company. But I mean, that's like my background, that's where I'm coming from. Those are how I got those degrees. I would say I'm an overachiever. I think God wants all his children to be excellent. I'm the head, I'm not the tail. So like in everything, I try to be the best possible, and I try to have excellence, of which each and every one of us should have. And you know, I think one of the things I always did was that, even in scriptures, I think in Luke 14:28 it says, and which of you that wants to be rich of you will not count the cost. So for every field, for every sector, there's always a cost. There was always a cost to entry, there's always a cost for relevance. And in Nigeria, the cost of relevance most often than not is a degree or connections, right? So you just had to get degrees, right? And a degree is like an academic rank conferred by a college or university after an examination and completion of course, right? And sometimes degrees are conferred honors. And in the Western world, a lot of times degrees are not the order of the day, right? A lot of people would rather not study, and that's why I won't say that's why, but most often than not, that's one of the reasons why there's been a lot of immigration, because they're looking for a lot of skilled workers, of which degrees produce those certain type of skills, right? And for me, I knew that I was going to manage certain things. So the cost of entry for me was to either get like a generalist degree. For example, if God has placed you in a particular mountain of influence, you need to decipher what the cost of entry is to that place. A lot of times, for example, if God has called you to the field of medicine, the cost of entry there is your education, the maybe 7 8 years or 5 6 years that you have to spend in university to get an education to make you certified as a doctor. That's your cost of entry, your cost of relevance, your cost of, or the cost of the requirements needed to take on that mountain, right? And then it's different for different fields. For example, I wouldn't say that degrees are underrated. I would only say that each and everybody should basically decipher what it is that God has called you to do, where you're at, and what's required for that. It's different for different people. For example, in economics, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I chose economics because it was a generalist degree as opposed to what I would call a specific degree. So that way, I know that whatever I want to do, I'll be able to translate it. In fact, in economics, when I was doing my degree, I thought I was going to go into petroleum economics, and that's one of the reasons why I did supply chain logistics management. But when I thought about it, I just realized now I'm doing more so things related to development economics, marketing, communications, those kind of things, and it's not quite related. But I think the most important thing for me is the fact that I was able to translate my competencies to skills, and those skills are now valuable, for which I now get paid. And yeah, I do a lot of things with that as well. From experience so far, I would say, if I looking back, would I have changed anything? No. Maybe I would have gotten a degree in development, or HR, or marketing and communications. But I mean, those kind of sectors don't really have a high barrier to entry, I would say, aside from maybe HR that needs you to have CIPD or any of those qualifications. So, but I wouldn't say that they have a high barrier to entry. So basically, I can do anything. I can work in a company. I can get any experience. But for a doctor, you need to have like that degree. But I think spiritually speaking, when it comes to degrees, right, you should learn to follow God. You need to know the place of man and the role of God in your life, right? The first two commandments, which I love, says you shall love the Lord your God. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, body, soul, and mind. Second one says love your neighbor as yourself. So there is no way, if you're loving God, you're thirsting after Him, you want to know His burdens, you want to know the reason why He has called you to life. There's no how you wouldn't know where He has placed you and the things that you can do, because He would give you specific instructions. Even in scriptures, it talks about the fact that those that are born by the Spirit, just like the way you can hear the wind but not know where it's coming from, it's the same way with those that are born by the Spirit, where God can be, might just be laughing at you, getting all those degrees, and then at the end of the day, He says, go and do something else. Alright, so it's different for those that are born with the Spirit. And a lot of times, a lot of people, when you see some spiritual things or some testimonies, if you're not a Christian, you'll not be able to relate, because it might just sound like gibberish or nonsense to you. Sorry to say, but I think it's different for us as believers in choosing whatever thing we want to study. If you don't know how or when at the beginning, that's fine, especially if you're at a young age. But guys, I can't overestimate the fact that when I knew what it is that God has called me to do and I walked in that path, the amount of blessings I've gotten, the amount of open doors. I mean, I got scholarship to study in the Lagos Business School for free. Only God knows how much I'd have paid for that course, but I didn't even have the money at that time, and I didn't even want to pay for any other course, because I just came back from my master's, and I didn't think my master had returned the value of money that was spent yet, so I didn't think of spending another money. But when I decided to work in purpose and what God has called me to do, see, the open doors have been tremendous. From then on, I got into an accelerator program, gained all the business skills, like to managerial level, and of which maybe caused my burnt out in 2021. But we learned from everything, and that's even one of the reasons. I think that burnout made me really ask myself deep questions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I in this sector? What has God called me to do? What am I currently doing in my life? Right? And what are the things that I can further do? But yeah, follow God in your purpose, rest in obscurity, because a lot of times you might not know where it is what God is doing, but he says speak to this person, take this course, go here, go there. Just follow His leading and learn to trust Him. If He has said it, He will do it. He's holding you by His hand. And then build for the future, right? You need to learn to build for the future in whatever you're doing, right? Because regardless of your degree, the onus, the responsibility is on every man to know what is required per time. So if for example now that we're talking about AI, do you know about AI? Have you ever used any AI tools? All those different kinds of things are things that you should adapt to. You don't just get a degree and just leave it on the table. If I learn about Excel now and I don't use Excel, I'll forget everything that I've learned. So you need to learn adapting for the future. And then the I think I would end this video by saying the factors to consider when choosing a degree and the things that I thought of. The first one was relevance. So for example, what's the relevance of this degree 5 4 years from now? Would I be able to easily adaptable? I think you should think of the relevance of the institution itself. So for example, in the UK there's like the Russell group of schools. In Nigeria you have like the top 5 top 10 schools especially, and they're ranked based on what they are good at. So look at all those things and see if this particular university or this investment you're making is the optimum investment at that particular time, because you want to have a huge return on investment. The next thing is location. So for me, for example, when I was speaking my masters, I wanted a more secluded environment. I wanted somewhere that had like affordable cost of living, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't even go to LSE, right? I didn't want to live in London at that time because it was busy. It was just like the city life. Like if I was going to school, I really wanted to really seclude myself from everyone and really study, really know about the culture when it's something different, right? So that might be the case for you. So you need to decipher the location. Is it conducive? Will you be able to study? Or a lot of times a lot of people get themselves in this trap where they pick a really expensive, they pick a good university in a very expensive place, and then they find themselves working overtime, and then they lose out on experience. They just lose out of that whole thing. The investment is a total package. Make sure you enjoy the trails of it. The next one is alumni trajectory. So you need to see the people that have gone to the schools. Where are they now? What are they currently doing? Does the school offer support? Can you find your own way? Would they amplify your voice? Those kind of things. And that's one of the reasons why CU is respected today, is because of the quality of alumni. And I think that's based on how they trained us, their core values, those kind of things really transcended into the people that we are today. The next one is comparative advantage. So what are the advantages of attending this school? So whenever I'm picking a school or picking something, I usually pick the top 3, unless it's something that's bequeathed to me. I usually pick like the top 3 or like the top 10 based on all these different things: cost, affordability, environment, support. What's their support system like? Do they have communities? Do they have extracurricular activities that speak to my person? Would I be able to enjoy those extracurricular activities, to ease off? I don't think it's just all about school. You need to have a balance, I would say. So those are the different things you need to discuss. Also, you need to consider the specificity or the generalist nature of your course. If you're not sure what you want to study and it's a generalist course, which you'll be able to do different add-ons to it. I think that's one of the reasons why I was happy that I studied those things that I studied, because I was able to build upon those things. And when I say get a degree, definitely get a degree if you can. If it's accessible to you, get a degree. But if you don't have the money for it, please make sure you're getting experience of some sort. Make sure you're tapping into programs. There are lots of free programs and scholarships right now that you need to tap into, and hopefully by the grace of God I'll be able to bring someone on here who has tapped into a lot of scholarship opportunities, that has funded his education and passions. You don't have to have so much money. As far as you have a dream, as far as you're following God, I know of a lot of people that didn't have the money to do these things that they are doing today, or the opportunities that they have today that they're enjoying. But there's all these things I'm talking about: loving God, following him, just reaching out. When Abraham obeyed God and did all these things and he walked with God, right? So God told him, as far as your eyes can see. So God literally tells his children, and we're seeds of Abraham. So as far as your eyes can see, regardless of whatever it entails, if God has said it, he will back you up. Let God be your major sponsor. Let him be your chief daddy. And honestly, you just ride on his wings. To be honest, I can't lie. Like, even all the things that I've been able to enjoy and the scholarships that I've gotten, I wouldn't say that it is by my degree or it's by merit. A lot of things were bequeathed to me, and I would say that it's honestly because of God, because that was like perfect timing. I was like, everything just aligned, and that's what happens. Romans 8:28. So thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.